they're wiped out. So that when you give these kids mercury, as opposed to a typical kid, it just makes perfect sense. That mercury, if you're not excreting it through your hair, feces, or urine, it's got to go somewhere. Every single microgram you're exposed to has to go somewhere. And it's finding its way, the theory goes, into the brain, into the nervous system, into the digestive tract, into the immune system, where it, mercury is mercurial. That's why we call it that.
As you were talking, it reminds me, I'm sure we've all studied the history of penicillin, quintessential antibiotic, first antibiotic, and when penicillin came out in the mid-1940s, we still didn't have a good concept of allergy, IgE, anaphylaxis, and as we started to give penicillin to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and people who were allergic to penicillin got anaphylactic, we did not then understand the mechanism of IgE release, and it sounds to me like we're almost at that stage when it concerns metals.
I think so.
I mean, there's some missing science here, and we're just observing the results, and we have yet to discover the link that would explain.
Right.
But we've got this, the problem is the huge political pressure that's preventing the research being done. What about in Iraq? I mean, did you get to research it properly,
In Iraq?
the seeds, yeah?
Oh yes, as a matter of fact, I'm sure our speaker knows a lot of the work about mercury poisoning comes from Iraq, from that government release.
It's quite a bit in the book. It was very tragic. They imported grain from Mexico.
Exactly.
And it was covered in methyl mercury because it's an antifungal. But the grain arrived in Iraq too late for planting season.
What year was that? What year?
There was several.
69,
About
70.
2 or 3.
Right,
Oh my
right.
God.
And the population wouldn't believe, they thought that it was a rumor spread. So the poor people
They
ate
ate
it.
it.
And it was pink too. It was dyed pink, and then they ground it up into flour, and they baked bread. And they thought it looked very festive.
Right.
So they would have it at parties and stuff, pink bread.
You see, this is a really important event that went on in Iraq, isn't it? In relation to everything else we're looking at here.
Very much so. But unfortunately, the drug companies are behind a lot of, poo-pooing the whole notion of there's a problem here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
look what happened to Barry Marshall. It's a perfect example.
Yes,
You go back 35 years ago when GlaxoSmithKline had all their money tied up in H2 receptor antagonists. And Barry Marshall has the cheek and first to sit around and say, this is actually caused by a bacteria. H. pylori. They tried to have him struck off. They tried to destroy his life. They tried to get rid of him. I was very pleased when he got the Nobel Prize 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And he ended up drinking the Helicobacter to give himself disease and to prove
To
it.
prove it.
Right.
He did a cock with it,
Yes.
Oh.
But people like him are...
Genetically susceptible.
And then there's pink disease, of course, acrodynia, which is very common in the English-speaking world, not in the United States so much, but UK, Canada, Australia, and that was caused by teething powders with inorganic mercury in it. But only 1 in 500 children exposed to the teething powders develop pink disease.
This is so interesting,
And
isn't
actually,
it?
I thought I was doing a little reading, so I think I might do a little reading. I do describe the Iraqi grain incident here,
Go ahead, though.
quite in some detail, and then I talk about pink disease.
Yeah.
Let me just read about Iraq, because it's pretty interesting. In 1971,